But tonight, my friends, I'd like to talk to you about the remarkable story of John McCain. It's a story about character. John McCain's character has been tested like no other presidential candidate in the history of this nation. He comes from a military family whose service to our country goes back to the time of the Revolutionary War. The tradition continues. As I speak, John and Cindy McCain have one son who's just finished his first tour in Iraq, and another son going back for his second one on Christmas Day, I understand. And another son who's putting his country first and attending the Naval Academy. Now, we have a number of the McCains in the audience tonight, and I just want you to understand they've been introduced, but I want you to understand how proud we are of you and how much we thank you for what you're doing for your country. Cindy's here with all the children. All the children are here, I believe. John is also here tonight is John's 96-year-old mother, Roberta. All I got to say is if Ms. Roberta had been the McCain captured by the North Vietnamese, they would have surrendered. Now, John's father was a bit of a rebel, too. In his first 2 semesters at the Naval Academy, he managed to earn 333 demerits. Unfortunately, John later saw that as a record to be beaten. A rebellious mother and a rebellious father. I guess you can see where this is going. In high school and the Naval Academy, John earned a reputation as a troublemaker. But as John points out, he wasn't just a troublemaker. He was the leader of the troublemakers. Although loaded with demerits like his father, John was principled even in rebellion. He never violated the honor code. However, in flight school in Pensacola, he did drive a Corvette and date a girl who worked in a bar as an exotic dancer under the name of Marie, the Flame of Florida. Now, the reason I'm telling you these things, that apparently this mixture of rebellion and honor helped John McCain survive the next chapter in his life. John McCain was preparing to take off from the USS Forrestal for his 6th mission over Vietnam when a missile from another plane accidentally fired and hit his plane. The flight deck burst into a fireball of jet fuel. John's flight suit caught fire. He was hit by shrapnel. It was a scene of horrible human devastation. Men sacrificed their lives to save others that day. One kid, who John couldn't identify because he was burned beyond recognition, called out to John to ask if a certain pilot was okay. John replied, yes, he was. The young sailor said, thank God, and then he died. These are the kind of men John McCain served with. These are the men and women John McCain knows and understands and loves. If you want to know who John McCain is, if you want to know what John McCain values, look at the men and women who wear America's uniform today. The fire on the Forrestal burned for 2 days. 20 planes were destroyed. 134 sailors died. John himself barely dodged death in the inferno and could have returned to the States with his ship. Instead, he volunteered for combat on another carrier that was undermanned from having lost so many pilots, stepping up, putting his country first. 3 months later, John McCain was a prisoner of war. On October 26, 1967, on his 23rd mission over North Vietnam, a surface-to-air missile slammed into John's A-4 Skyhawk jet, blowing it out of the sky. When John ejected, part of the plane hit him, breaking his right leg, his right knee, his left arm and right arm in 3 places. An angry mob got to him when he fell to the ground. A rifle butt broke his shoulder. A bayonet pierced his ankle and his groin. They took him to the Hanoi Hilton, where he lapsed in and out of consciousness for days. He was offered medical care for his injuries if he would give up military information in return. John McCain said no. After days of neglect, covered in grime, lying in his own waste in a filthy room, a doctor attempted to set John's right arm without success and without anesthesia. His other broken bones and injuries were not treated. John developed a high fever and dysentery. He weighed barely 100 pounds. Expecting him to die, his captors placed him in a cell with 2 other POWs who also expected him to die. But with their help, John McCain fought on. He persevered. So then they put him in solitary confinement for over 2 years. Isolation, incredible heat, beating on a tin roof, a light bulb in his cell burning 24 hours a day, boarded up cell windows blocking any breath of fresh air, the oppressive heat causing balls the size of baseballs under his arms, the outside world limited to what he could see through a crack in the door. We hear a lot of talk about hope these days. John McCain knows about hope. That's all he had. For propaganda purposes, his captors offered to let him go home. John McCain refused.